Tomorrow's episode of One Piece, episode 1146, will be fully adapted from chapter 1112, titled Planetary Alignment. The anime episode itself is called The Coming Threat, the resolution of Stussy and Edison. In this chapter, we witness the beginning of Luffy's battle against the Gorosei. And since I obviously can't show the full episode here on the channel because of copyright reasons, I decided to give you a complete breakdown of this chapter, so you'll have a solid understanding of what's going on before the episode airs. The chapter opens with the Marines reporting that all pacifistas attacking them have been neutralized, allowing them to continue their offensive in hopes of preventing Luffy and Bonnie from escaping. Then we see Nusjurdo, furious that Dr. Vegapunk would entrust a 12-year-old girl with control over a weapon capable of destroying entire nations, calling such defiance both foolish and insolent. Meanwhile, Omo and Kashi say they should return to their ship now that the Gorosei have arrived, but the Marines decide to sink the giant's vessel to stop their escape, repositioning their forces toward the northeastern shore. On Bonnie's side, Franky defeats Vice Admiral Red King, while Bonnie assigns one of the giants to protect Kuma. Then she uses her powers on Pumpsky, turning him into a child and kicking him away, a scene that shocks Guillotine. At the same time, Mars frees York from her restraints. She leads him to the broadcasting room, but Mars immediately fires a destructive energy beam, obliterating it. However, the broadcast doesn't stop. York explains that if she were Stella, she would have hidden the transmission Dendenmushi somewhere no one could find. Mars suggests destroying the entire lab, but York warns him that doing so could backfire. Since Building B's second floor is for weapons development, the first floor holds the power plant, and Building C's third floor contains high-pressure cylinders. If any of those explode, Punk Records itself will be completely destroyed. Mars then orders York to come up with a solution, and she agrees, insisting she doesn't want to risk her relationship with the Gorosei any more than she already has. Suddenly, Mars hears a faint sound coming from above, inside Punk Records itself. York immediately deduces that must be the location of the hidden transmission snail, and she describes what it looks like to help him find it. Without hesitation, Mars heads for the entrance. Once he leaves, Stussy lets out a sigh of relief, realizing Mars hadn't discovered their hiding spot, and Kaku feels the same. Stussy concludes that the figure they saw was indeed one of the Gorosei, while Kaku expresses disgust at Mars's monstrous form. He then asks why she stayed behind, believing that the Straw Hats and Dr. Vegapunk had abandoned her, a bit of poetic justice considering her past betrayal of CP0. But Stussy reveals that she chose to stay, determined to complete one final mission. Meanwhile, Nami asks Edison if they're really going to leave Stussy behind. Edison replies that there's no other choice. The Frontier Dome has to close the moment their ship takes off. That's why Stussy decided to stay, to manually shut it down from the control tower. The only thing they can do for her now is make it out alive, and Nami reluctantly agrees. Robin then asks how they'll cover the distance needed to avoid crashing without the Vega Force robot, and Edison admits he has no idea. Just then, Usopp yells out that he's finished setting up the booster explosion, meaning they can launch as soon as Zoro and Jinbei arrive, but if they don't make it in time, they'll have to improvise and use everyone's abilities to escape safely, prompting Edison to call the crew a bunch of loud maniacs. Finally, Edison says he's always loved the theory that miracles happen when determination surpasses all limits, and he decides to test it himself by attempting to jump through the Frontier Dome. His declaration leaves Nami completely stunned.
Elsewhere, Joe Peter fully regenerates his body and begins absorbing everything around him into a massive vortex, blocking both the giants and Luffy from advancing. In a bold move, Luffy rips an entire building out of the ground and shoves it straight into Joe Peter's mouth, successfully stopping the pull. But soon after, Luffy starts to lose all his strength. His gear fifth wears off, and he reverts to a frail old man, having burned through every ounce of energy from the food he'd eaten earlier. Seeing him like this, Broggy offers Luffy some of their emergency rations, called Hawk Rule. Despite its awful smell, Luffy devours it all and immediately recharges his stamina. With his strength restored, Workery charges in, and Luffy counters with a massive punch to the head. But Workery's skull is way tougher than he expected, leaving Luffy clutching his hand in pain. Meanwhile, at the back entrance of the lab, Saturn rises up the island's cloud layer to confront Usopp, Nami, and Chopper, while Nostro reaches Bonnie's group, taking down one of the giants before clashing with Bonnie, Franky, and Atlas. At the same time, Mars finally locates the hidden Denden Mushi, just 1 minute before the broadcast begins. As he mutters that Dr. Vegapunk's luck has finally run out, he suddenly hears a strange gurgling noise coming from above. Mars looks up with a stern expression, his face tightening as if he's just witnessed something truly shocking.